This video doing an Exalted Death setup. I also show the scaling gear setups if you want to do Legend and Grand. But to start things off, we're going to do Exalted. So we're at 6k health, 128 damage, 86 fire, 56 res. You'd be at like 21 death accuracy, and then you can get 24 fire. 464 crit, 315 block, 43 pierce to death, 38 to fire, 102 power pip, 88 arch mastery, and this is kind of like a weird setup, and I'll show you why. So you are going to use the Chrysalis hat with pins, Darkmoor robe, or Bone Smasher. I didn't feel like farming that because I got the Darkmoor one first. Then you do the Chrysalis boots with pins, the fairy wand, if getting a thing. This is where you would put a universal 5% accuracy jewel at. I'd rather have the blade with this other setup I'll show. The fairy amulet, Skyfarer ring. You would use this pet, not necessarily this body. We have a couple choices on bodies, but this is one of the pets you'd use with a Clockwork Person mount. Then you can use the Darkmoor deck, or if you have the Grimfight Fest, or event deck I should say, you would use that. So that's how you get these stats. The setup I typically run though, and I'm kind of still experimenting with it, is going to be with a Pearl Pet. So you'd be at 126 damage, 87 fire, 56 res. I didn't swap over the Defy Jewel, 25 fire, C22 death, 6k health still, 464 crit, 315 block, 41 and 36 perfect power pip chance, and that is why I can use the Death Blade for the triangle socket on here, same with on here. If you're good at cycling, I would go ahead and say use the Grimfight Vest because of the Arch Mastery boost you get. You can compete better against max level scaling and other people that are using this or Arch Mastery pets, so it is helpful. I'm just not very good at cycling. So yeah, this is the pet you would use. You would just get Sharp Shot instead of Pain Giver. So that's the Exalt setup. So I'll do a quick. Alright, so swapped over to the Legend setup. It's basically a pretty similar thing. You're at 3600 health, 91 death damage, 64 to fire, 36 res, 24 death accuracy, 26 fire. Crit and block doesn't matter in this league. 21 fire, 24 death, power pip chance. You're gonna want to use the event hat compared to the Aquilia or Aquila, whatever you call it, hat. You get one more res, and it actually does make a difference. So you're at 36 right now with the Fight Fest. You swap over to this one, you're at 35, but you do get 2 more damage. So kind of personal preference on that one. Wherever that went, there we go. Still Darkmoor robe, Chrysalis boots, fairy. You're gonna use a power pip jewel on the Athame this time instead of anything else. The fire or the accuracy, Skyfarer ring, Sharp Shot pet with the set bonus. Then you're gonna want to use a deck that gives Arch Mastery and a triangle socket, or if you can figure out a setup where you can use just something that gives Arch Mastery in a circle. But you need Arch Mastery in a deck for sure, because if not, you will end up getting diffed pretty badly. You kind of need fire pips and death pips, so yeah. It's a pretty straightforward. You're going to want a triangle socket for the most part though. And then I also have this other setup for scaling to grand, but I don't really do grand, so I don't know if it's actually good, but this can at least be a baseline for you if you do grand. So this is the grand setup. Like I said, I don't know if it's actually like good, but it's baseline. 3k health, so you're about 200 underneath. 81 death damage, the cap's 94. For the fire damage, if you are running all the pins, which I am not doing, you have, what is that, another 17 if I did the math right, so you'd be at 68 fire damage, which is 3 over the dual skull cap. You're 3 off the res cap, 20 death accuracy, 26 fire, 12 pierce, 11 fire. Like I said, if you are running all the punishing pins, you would probably be at 13 or 14 fire pierce, which is the cap. You're 2 off the damage, or death cap, perfect power pip chance. Fight Fest hat, the Chrysalis robe, which surprisingly is actually decent for this. It's weird, it's stupid. Chrysalis boots, city staff, the Darkmoor berry. You can actually use the Chrysalis ring here because you don't need the power pips. I don't know if it actually changes your damage. 81, 80, so I mean, yeah. You might want to use this one for that 1 extra damage. Triple damage on the pet, and then you would use the Clockwork Courser actually. Same thing on the deck. Accuracy, and then you would want an Arch Mastery deck. Power Pip, or the Pip doesn't matter because, you know, you only get that in Exalt and up. But yeah, this is a in-depth, not really a depth. Oh shit, there's Austin. Yeah, so this is kind of just a PvP gear guide for scaling.